Psaki and many other parts of the Democrat government tell us that inflation is going to be huge this time around. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that. Biden has announced a new crackdown on ghost guns because they are involved in so many crimes that we have going on around here that he's actually got to do something about them, in spite of the fact, and once again, the last few crimes that we've seen have involved just regular old off-the-market guns, but leave that to the federal government to go back and figure out. What happened here? There is a flat tire challenge going on around here in which environmental groups are going around and flattening SUV tires to make sure that SUVs are not polluting the atmosphere. And an Iowa senatorial candidate is being left off of the ballot because she had signature match issues. It is going to be all this and more. You're just mad you can't date me. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, Edheads. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and we have got a slower show than normal today, but we've still got plenty of stuff to go over here. This inflation thing. I've got some other stuff that's up on the top that we're going to talk about here. Some video we've got to watch. I've actually got some extra articles just to make sure that we get enough video off of this, because the fact that Psaki is right now trying to come out and say, oh, well, inflation is going to be huge, but don't worry, it's not our fault. Meanwhile, we're sitting here speaking with the administration of the buck stops with me here, man, president. It's insanity. But I am coming out, and I'll say right off the bat, I am enjoying the fact that we're sitting out here with a little bit of a summery weather going on over here in Wisconsin, and enjoying having the windows open and everything else, even while I'm off work for this week here. But I got to enjoy it a little bit here before winter returns on Thursday. So come back and we'll see what happens with that. And let's get started into the news. Let me get the live chat up here. I always know when KTZed has been into the live chat, the restream chat, because across the account, when a setting changes, it changes for both of the viewers who have access to the account. So I always go in there, and the font size is 120%. And I usually keep it at 80% so I can see more messages on there at a time. But maybe Katie's blind, I don't know. I don't have much room to talk, because without these, I can't even see it when it's at 120%. So, all right, let's get into it. Let's get started. But before we do, head on over and check out turnsofpagesproductions.com. Turns of Pages Productions is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. I am looking right now for a larger stream than mine to go back and name docs on. I mean, you guys already know what my name is, but for the people who want to be coming out and supporting, I don't know if Brian is going to be working with me now or not, because he hasn't answered a DM, unfortunately, and it's sad because I do like Brian, but there's going to be something coming out there. Maybe somebody can put a quarter in the ear of the Mad Ones, and I can go on the Mad Ones and promote Turns of Pages, reveal my name, and tell the world about the Give, Send, Go. But for right now, you guys know what's going on in there. Tweet at the Mad Ones. Tell them that I should be on there if you guys want to see me on that one. I think it'd be a lot of fun. But with that, go over, check out turnsofpagesproductions.com, which is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. Once we get started, we will be carrying great shows such as the Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Porch Boys, any project that comes on with Britt, which it looks like she might be working on another one here in the near future, and a new surprise show that'll be coming up and joining us once we get started. So go and check that out. News and culture by and for people just like you, rather than watching the people who are rich, who are heirs to major fortunes like Tyson, or what's the one that Anderson Cooper's an heir to? Either way, people who sit there and read the news to you tell you how you're supposed to feel, while they go home to mansions and sit there on screen in suits that cost more than your house. So that's what we see off of that. Go and check that out. TurnsOfPagesProductions.com. And if you are feeling generous, even though we're not going public with it just yet, those of you are in the know, see this, already know what my government name is because it's right on there, and we've looked at this every day since we started. But go check out givesendgo.com/turnsofpages101, and you throw a 5, throw a 10, throw a 20 at it. I mean, if you can throw more, and you're feeling generous enough to do so, you believe in the vision, absolutely throw more. But every dollar helps out, so go and check that out. givesendgo.com/turnsofpages101 to help us out, to help us get launched, to make sure that our friend Bobby Joe can get paid. So we will see what is going on with that, and well, hope to see some of you guys over there. I know Fanning made the first donation, but we haven't exactly been public with it yet because of the whole government name thing, but you know, at some point we've got to get around that as well. All right, let's have a look at what's happening in the finance. And well, given the fact that the White House has talked about the massive inflation numbers, and that's going to be what we talk about at the beginning, naturally the Dow went down throughout the day yesterday. Not as bad as I thought it was going to. But it's still down 413.04 points, 1.19% to 34,308.08. Looking in at the Bitcoin, the Bitcoin is up throughout the day, up $780 and 90 US cents. I still think that's down off the day because wasn't it 41,000 yesterday? So Bitcoin is kind of, it's going down, it's coming up, it's going down, it's coming up. Looks like it did dip all the way down to 39,300 at one point throughout the day. So those of you who are watching your cryptos and your Bitcoins, do be careful with what it is you invest in right now because there's a lot of volatility. There's a lot of demand from people who don't understand Bitcoin to regulate Bitcoin so Janet Yellen can get the taxes off of that because they think that it's unsafe and you can go and buy drugs and prostitution with that, as opposed to the US dollar that have been buying US drugs and prostitution and foreign drugs and prostitution for, well, pretty much since the inception of the US dollar. But that's what we see coming off of that. We're going to switch off the metal prices for a little while, and we're going to go back to gas prices just to see where they're at and see what happens with them, because I do anticipate once the summer travel starts to go in, we're going to see them go up. But we'll continue to watch that here. Going back to the Madison gas prices. Well, going back to the Madison gas price, I think I need to go start buying gas in Madison. Holy shit. That is considerably lower than what it is down here. Holy crap. The Costco in Sun Prairie is at $3.35. That is your low price leader in the Madison area. But everybody else appears to be holding out at about $3.49 throughout the Madison area. About $3.69 here, in Redacted, where I live. So a little bit lower in Madison, but it's fairly steady coming off through here, and it looks like it's staying fairly steady as we go, so that's what we see off of gas. And let's see what IBD has to say. Dow futures rise ahead of key inflation report as White House warns of extraordinarily elevated inflation from Scott Latonin. Dow futures traded slightly higher Tuesday morning after Monday's stock market sell-off. A key inflation report, the Consumer Price Index, is due out ahead of the market open. The 10-year Treasury yield continued to rise, on pace to extend a win streak to 8 sessions. U.S. oil prices jumped nearly 4% to above $98 a barrel. Among the Dow Jones leaders, Apple fell 0.2% and Microsoft traded unchanged in today's stock market. JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs will report first quarter results on Wednesday and Thursday respectively. Lastly, Cisco declined more than 2% after Citi downgraded the stock from neutral to sell. CrowdStrike jumped nearly 3% early Tuesday after Goldman Sachs upgrade. Twitter held steady. Electric vehicle giant Tesla inched lower, threatening to add to Monday's sharp losses. As the stock market's slight uptrend struggles, Dow Jones financial leader American Express, along with Broadcom, IBD leaderboard watchlist stock Edwards Sciences, Raytheon Technologies, and Shell are among Tuesday's top stocks to buy and watch. Of course, a defense contractor is the top stock to buy. Hell, we're doing Lend-Lease again. They're making money hand over fist. And we're back up to the top. Microsoft and Tesla, our IBD leaderboard stocks, Edward Life Sciences, and Raytheon Technologies were featured in this week's stocks near a buy zone column. And of course, once again, Raytheon Technologies. You might as well just say Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman. Hey, buy the stuff where people are selling weapons. It's like Lord of War all over again. On the futures before Tuesday's open, Dow futures rose 0.1% versus fair value. S&P 500 futures moved up 0.15%, and NASDAQ futures rose 0.2% versus fair value in early morning trade. Excuse me. Among ETFs, the NASDAQ tracker Invesco QQQ Trust rose 0.2%, and the SPDR S&P 500 ETF was up 0.1% ahead of Tuesday's open. The 10-year U.S. yield extended a win streak to 7 sessions on Monday, rising to 2.78%. The 10-year yield climbed to 2.82% Tuesday morning, hitting its highest level since December of 2018. Before easing, meanwhile, U.S. oil prices jumped 4% Tuesday, with the West Texas Intermediate crude trading above $98 a barrel. And with that was the reason that I put the gas prices up instead of doing the scrap metal for at least a little while, because that is something that we have to watch off of this. And some of you guys are going to experience higher gas prices than we do here, because this is considered to be a swing state. Meaning that our governor is going to do everything within his power and within the law and within the Constitution to make sure our gas prices stay low, because, hey, come on, vote for me. Vote for my party, not the evil Republicans. Consumer prices in March are projected to have risen 1.1% for a year-over-year rate of 8.4% per Econoday estimates, which would be the fastest increase since December of 1981. The Consumer Price Index measures the rate of price inflation among common goods. Meanwhile, the White House says it expects the March CPI headline inflation number to be extraordinarily elevated due to Putin's price hike. Putin's price hike. Yeah, we'll be talking about that in just a minute here, but that is what it is that they have to say about this. Thank you, Scott Latonin from IBD. Let's look in at Forbes. Dow falls 400 points as 10-year Treasury yield hits highest level since January of 2019. You know, in the midst of an actual booming economy. From Sergei Khlebnikov. Stocks fell on Monday as government bond yields surged, with the 10-year yield jumping above 2.7%, its highest level since January of 2019, amid ongoing fears about inflation, with investors dumping riskier assets as they brace for more aggressive rate hikes from the Federal Reserve. Key facts. Stocks took a hit on Monday, adding to last week's losses. The Dow Jones fell 1.2%, over 400 points, while the S&P lost 1.7%, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ composite 2.2%. Government bond yields spiked higher amid growing alarm about surging inflation. The 10-year Treasury note jumped above 2.78% on Monday, its highest level since January 2019. The downward movement could continue this week as the latest consumer price index from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which will be released on Tuesday, is expected to show a staggering 8.4% increase in prices from last year. Investors continue to rotate out of riskier assets, including growth and technology stocks, portions of the market which experts think will be the most impacted by rising rates. Oil prices, which remain volatile amid Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine, fell again on Monday and now sit at around $95 a barrel. Shares of major energy companies like Occidental Petroleum and Diamondback Energy subsequently both lost more than 4%. So that is what we're seeing coming off of that, and that's something to watch here. And they keep talking about the bond yield. I'm telling you right now, when you start to see numbers like that, the government being a little bit desperate, especially in the midst of high inflation like this, the government is desperate to get you to buy a bond. Under low inflation, good economy, the government is eager to get you to buy a bond because that helps them and they don't have to go out and print money to keep up with the rising demand and customer costs. But when they're sitting out here printing money the way that they are desperate to get people to go out and buy a bond. I would not go anywhere near a bond right now. That is not official financial advice. But I see a lot of problems with the government and the monetary supply. and the core inflation. I wouldn't go anywhere near a bond right now if it was me. Now, your financial advisor might advise something different. That is something you need to discuss with him. I cannot give you official financial advice. But right now, no matter how much they're trying to beg you and throw money at it and throw 10-year yields at you, I wouldn't go anywhere near it. It is a good investment right now. Don't get me wrong, but with all the volatility that's going on over the next few years, I wouldn't go anywhere close to it. But we'll see what happens with that and where that goes. Let's continue on with the finance, and let's go into RCP for the morning. Something that we don't do very often at the start of this, but we've got to talk about, even the White House is now telling you, oh, well, watch for the inflated prices. And the first thing we're going to do is listen to the red-haired bobblehead.
So because of the actions we've taken to address the Putin price hike, we are in a better place than we were last month. But we expect March CPI headline inflation to be extraordinarily elevated due to Putin's price hike. And we expect a large difference between core and headline inflation, reflecting the global disruptions in energy and food markets. So core inflation doesn't include energy and food prices. Headline inflation does. And of course, we know that core inflation, energy, the impact of energy, of course, on oil prices, gas prices, we expect that to continue to reflect what we've seen the increases be over the course of this invasion. And just as an example, since President Putin's military buildup accelerated in January, average gas prices are up more than 80 cents. Most of the increase occurred in the month of March, and at times gas prices were more than $1 above pre-invasion levels. So that roughly 25% increase in gas prices will drive tomorrow's inflation reading. And certainly it's not a surprise to us, but we certainly think it will be reflected.
Boy, where to start off of this? No, do not play. Do not play that. Where to start? And this is, like I say, this is one of the things that come back out here, where they talk about, okay, this is what the gas prices are going to be. This is what's going to happen. Because this is all Putin's fault. It's the Putin price hike. They are trying desperately to peg all the rest of this over on Putin. They tried to do this in March, last month, saying that all the inflation that we're seeing year over year is because of Putin, in spite of the fact that the invasion didn't start until February 24th. Gas prices had already doubled by that point, almost. Inflation was 7.9% year over year. And yes, I understand the fact that this whole thing with Russia is going to push it higher, because they keep printing off money and sending it over to other countries. And they keep printing off money and sending it over to Northrop Grumman and Raytheon so they can send weapons over to other countries. And they're printing that money left and right, and you're not getting any of it. Your wages are rising just based on the fact that products are rising in price. But they're not keeping up with the 7.9% inflation that we're seeing coming year over year, and possibly 8.9% possibly. They say that the inflation was 15.1% at some point in the early 80s. I think was the highest number that they've told us. And we're not even, apparently we're not even close to that. But they've changed the metric on how they measure the inflation and the inflation rate. And with that, given the fact that they've changed the metric to make it look better for the current administration, even still, we might still hit those old metric numbers. But under the old metric, we'd probably be over 20 to 30% inflation right now. But we are on pace to beat those numbers even under the new metric. Doesn't that scare the crap out of you a little bit? Let's read on. White House Press Secretary Red-Haired Bobblehead said on Monday the admin expects the March reading of the Consumer Price Index to show extraordinarily high inflation. Extraordinarily inflation? I think you mean extraordinarily high inflation. Due to Putin's price hike. Excuse me. Because the actions we've taken to address Putin price hike, we're in a better place than we were last month, Bobblehead told reporters. We expect the March CPI headline inflation to be extraordinarily due to Putin's price hike. We expect a large difference between the core and headline inflation reflected in the global disruptions in energy and food markets. Yeah, we listened to all this already, and it's a lie. Just as an example, average gas prices are up more than 80%, 80 cents, she said. Most of the increase occurred in the month of March. That is fair. I will give that to you. Most of the increase happened in March. But that doesn't mean that it didn't have a significant jump in the year prior to the invasion. So that's what we see off of that. Let's read a little bit more here from the Blaze and see if there's some. I think they have some more video in this one. Yes, they do. From the Blaze, though, Psaki warns economic report will show extraordinarily elevated inflation and puts the blame on Putin. From Carlos Garcia. Hey, where's the banana dude? I want to see what he has to say about the Blaze. Somebody go wake him up from his fucking bong rip. White House press secretary, red-haired bobblehead, warned that the next economic report could contain extraordinarily elevated inflation because of Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Psaki made the comments during Monday's press briefing at the White House. The actions that we've taken, large difference between core, 80 cents, we saw all this here. The admin has been harangued by Republican critics and others who have pointed out that inflation has been spiking prior to the invasion. The administration has tried to pin inflation on the pandemic, greedy corporations, and finally, the Russians. And by the way, again, this is coming from an admin that said that if he was elected, the buck was going to stop with him. He was going to fix everything because the buck stops with him. And yet I see nothing but a desperate plea to go pin the blame on anybody but them. And they're starting to realize, too, a year into this, that they can't go back and say Trump, Trump, Trump anymore. Which is a little bit intelligent. I mean, what did we see under Obama? Even far into 2014, 2015. Oh, I'm having problems right now because it's all Bush's fault. I couldn't be doing anything wrong. It's all Bush. He left me a mess. I didn't clean it up. That's why you're having troubles right now. It's because Bush left me a mess. The messaging, I will give credit to the White House and say that messaging is not going to fall on happy ears in the American public. They can go back out and try to blame somebody else, but they can't do this with the previous admin anymore. That is not going to work for them. But that's what we see off that. Let's see if there's any more video than what we've already seen.
Taken to address the Putin price hike. We are in a
105. It's the same video we just watched. So let's keep going. I'll just grab one from CNBC. The White House says it expects inflation to be extraordinarily elevated in a new report. Yeah, this is the same thing. We could listen to this, though, because that's going to be the result of this. Expect shallow recession in the short term, says Heyman Capital's Kyle Bass. I don't know if it's going to be shallow recession. That's the problem. Because we're seeing all of the same things in a shorter term that took out the housing market in 2008. We actually, what we're seeing right now happening in the last, I would say, 7 months in this country, happened over a course of 3 to 5 years. The first time. Well, the last time, not the first time, the last time. I would almost call for depression at this point, or getting goddamn close to it. But let's listen. Let's see what Kyle Bass has to say.
You know, Sarah, that I don't believe that we're going to be able to see the tightening cycle that I think is being telegraphed by the Fed I think that when you look at the amount of on-balance sheet obligations we have as a sovereign and in the corporate sector, I don't think that the delta, the rate of change from the lows to where people, let's say Wall Street economists, are saying the neutral rate is, I don't think we get there. As you've already seen, the forward market's already priced this in, and we already have an inverted curve. So I think that the chance of a shallow recession for the U.S. in the next 12 months is pretty high, but I don't expect it to be too deep given all the inputs today.
So then would you be a buyer of stocks on that view?
You know, I think not yet. I think that you're going to see things go from bad to worse in the Ukraine with Putin, and I think you're going to see China move on Taiwan or invade Taiwan in the next 18 months. So I would just sit on the sidelines for a while, or you know, I guess if what I'm looking to do is protect my portfolio, I sell all the Chinese stocks. If I was institutionally allocated, I would remove all of my investments from China. What Putin just taught us is that entire countries should be avoided if they're being run by despotic autocrats.
But that's not new for you. You've
So, and I have to push back on some of the things that he has to say as well, because there are. I would not stand out here and tell you not to buy stock. I absolutely would not. But what I would look at when I look into some of this stuff is do be careful and be choosy with the stock. And it is not time to go into anything risky. And of course, once again, not official financial advice. When he comes out and talks about Ukraine, and also, by the way, talking about Taiwan, Serbia, there's some things that are going on in that region of the world. I would at least talk to my financial advisor, if it was me, about defense stocks, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, etc. Because in a situation like we're sitting in right now, especially given the fact that for a while the military is going to be probably the most apt career path for a lot of people who are just getting out of high school, I would at least go and have the conversation about what is Raytheon doing, what is Northrop Grumman doing, what is Lockheed Martin doing. And I'm not saying to buy it, I'm saying to go have that conversation. Talk to somebody who is an official financial advisor. But what I do see off of this is even some of the big investors who are trying to bank on this administration are scared right now. Because we are starting to see more and more inflation. More and more inflation. You used to be able on sale to get eggs for 99 cents at the Quick Trip. Now it's $1.99. And that's the on sale price. But that's what we see off of that. Let's grab one more here from Axios on the same subject. And then we will switch gears and go talk about ghost guns. Get ready for a nasty inflation report from Neil Irwin over at Axios. A new inflation reading is due out Tuesday morning. It looks to be a doozy. The consumer price index for March will reflect the surge in energy prices tied to the war with Ukraine, which is likely to push the headline number to yet another multi-decade high. The biggest question facing the economy now is whether the inflation report will come down on its own or require such aggressive Federal Reserve action as to bring a recession. The new numbers will provide fresh evidence of which reality we're living in. Beyond the headline number, the report will include crucial evidence of whether the forces that have driven inflation, largely affecting goods, are starting to fade, and whether rising prices are spreading further into services. Analysts surveyed by FactSet expect to release the data to show 8.4% inflation over the last year, which would be the highest overall inflation since December of 1981. The rate was 7.9% for the year ended in February. Excluding food and energy, the forecast is for 6.6% inflation, which would be the highest since 1982. And I love the fact that they continue to go back and exclude food and energy, the two things that you can't go without. Gasoline prices alone are a major culprit. The average gallon of gas cost $4.08 in March, according to the government data, up 20% from February. The good news, that prices already faded a bit down to $4.02 in the first week of April, which, if sustained, means gas could subtract from futures month's headline inflation number. Look for the Biden admin on Tuesday to emphasize the role of Russian invasion in the Ukraine in generating the nasty inflation number and highlights efforts to bring down the fuel cost by releasing oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which, again, by the way, the thing with the Strategic Oil Reserve, that pisses me off. I try not to get angry on this program. I leave the anger for the R-rated conservative. But that really, really makes me angry. Really, really makes me angry. Because Democrats are not expecting to win in 2022. Let's be realistic about that. 1 million barrels a month for 6 months. Or is it 10 million? Regardless, it's going for 6 months, starting in March. What is happening about 6 months away from March? That brings us out to the end of September, which means that there is one more month going into the election year, and we're not going to, anything that happens off of that, we're not going to start seeing affect us until after the midterm elections, after the vote goes through. But starting in December, January, February of next year, Biden did task the oil companies that are going to be, their supply is going to be affecting your gas prices. They have to go fill the strategic reserve back up. Whether or not they have the drilling permits, whether or not the administration lets them go back out and drill, not just the lease and search permits, but also the drilling permits and all the other permits that go through that, a portion of their oil has to go back into the strategic reserve, which is less that they can put out to the refinery, which can then go out to the pump for you. Biden is setting up, or the people who are pulling Biden's strings are setting up, for there to be $5 to $6 a gallon gasoline after the midterms. I promise you. This is dirty trickery. Absolutely dirty trickery. So that's what we see coming up with that. We will see what happens as this goes along and moves along. Let's go talk about ghost guns. Biden announces new gun regulation and names ATF nominee from Kevin Liptak, which, we already knew who the new nominee was going to be, but President Biden announced a new firearm regulation Monday meant to contain the use of privately made weapons as he comes under pressure to take more steps to address a national crisis of gun violence. That's weird. We didn't seem to have such a natural crisis in an odd-numbered year in 2021. But hey, it's an election year. The regulation on so-called ghost guns, unregulated, untraceable weapons made from kits, will address a critical gap in the government's ability to track them by requiring background checks before purchase and serial numbers on some of the components. Though ghost guns make up a relatively small share of the guns recovered by law enforcement, they have been seen with increasing frequency in recent years. Biden brought one of the kits to the Rose Garden on Monday, declaring new rules on basic common sense before holding aloft one of the weapons made from the gear. If you buy a couch, you have to assemble. It's still a couch. If you order a package like this one over here that includes parts that you need and directs the assembly of a functioning firearm, you bought a gun, he declared, striding over to the kit and demonstrating the ease of constructing the weapon. It doesn't take very long, he said. Anyone can order it in the mail. Boy, that's a lie. Biden also named Steve Dettelbeck, the former U.S. Attorney from Ohio, as his nominee to lead the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives. You know, that thing that should be a convenience store. The president's previous nominee was forced to withdraw amid opposition from the Senate. I can't wait to see what the chance see on this guy, Steve Dettelbeck. I mean, he's probably a puppy murderer just like the rest of them. The mission of this agency isn't controversial. Yeah, it is. It's public safety. The moves come as gun violence and crime have ticked up in the U.S., putting pressure on the White House to take action. A rash of shootings over the weekend underscored the emergency. 4 people, including 2 teens, were shot shortly after an MLB game in D.C. on Saturday night. Police said in Illinois 6 people were found injured after a shooting occurred in a residential neighborhood. Police are also investigating a shooting at a birthday party in Indianapolis where 6 people were shot and 1 person was killed, and 2 people were also killed and 10 hospitalized after a targeted attack at Cedar Rapids nightclub. Police said. Routine deadly gun violence is a uniquely American problem. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention deemed gun violence a serious public health threat. Last year, Biden has made modest progress on gun control, but major steps like banning assault weapons or closing background check loopholes would require congressional action. I will note the fact that the ghost gun thing, by the way, is also already covered under federal law. None of this absolves Congress for the responsibility to act, Biden said. Gun violence typically spikes in summer months, lending further urgency to Monday's actions. The new rule issued by Justice Department seeks to rein in the type of weapon that can be seen more and more at crime scenes across the country. Ghost gun kits can be purchased online, and a weapon can be self-manufactured in as little as 30 minutes. Because regulators cannot trace them, ghost guns are appealing to criminals and those with criminal histories, according to the officials. Another lie by the Biden admin. The new rules require anyone purchasing a kit to undergo a background check, as is required for other types of firearm purchases, which they already were. It also requires those selling the kits to mark the components with a serial number, so the eventual weapon produced can be traced, and it mandates firearms dealers and add a serial number to already built ghost guns that they come across in their business, which is already the law. Oh my god, he actually said this. All of a sudden, it's no longer a ghost. Well, now I'm cringing. Wow. And that's not even the top 10 cringiest thing this president has said. It has a return address, and it's gonna help save lives, reduce crime, and get more criminals off the streets. Ghost guns look like a gun, they shoot like a gun, they kill like a gun. But up until now, they haven't been regulated like a gun. John Feinblatt, president of Everytown for Gun Safety, said in a statement celebrating the Biden admin for doubling down on its commitment to gun safety. Yes, the president of Everytown, who has been caught on numerous occasions lying about gun violence, is telling you what a ghost gun is. So, there you go. That's your speech. Let's just look at this for a second. I'm curious. What propaganda CNN is putting out?
Tragedy from coast to coast as shootings rock neighborhoods nationwide. In Cedar Rapids, Iowa, shots fired early Sunday morning at a nightclub, leaving 2 dead and at least 10 injured, according to police.
This is another mindless and senseless gun-related incident.
Police are still uncertain about the number of shooters, but they believe the suspects may have slipped out as the crowd of up to 150 rushed for the exits after the shooting began.
This is not who we are. This is not Cedar Rapids. Today I challenge all of us to meet the need so clearly before us. We must be the change.
A birthday party in Indianapolis ended with gunshots early Sunday morning.
Some type of fight or disturbance broke out, and then shots occurred.
Officers arrived at the scene and found 1 man dead and at least 5 others with gunshot wounds. And in Georgia, the Coweta County coroner arrived at a fatal armed robbery and discovered his father, mother, and son were the victims. The local police chief shocked.
Right now I'm speechless, really. I've had a hard time talking about it.
We don't have stuff like here in Grantmore like that. I mean, this is a nice, quiet little town.
Tommy Hawk, his wife Evelyn, and 19-year-old grandson Luke were killed at the family's shooting range. The ATF is assisting in the investigation where police estimated at least 40 guns were stolen. In Los Angeles County, police responding Sunday afternoon to a shooting in the Willowbrook neighborhood that left 2 dead and 5 others wounded.
There were at least 2 vehicles that approached the area. There were suspects within that vehicle that shot the victims.
In Washington, D.C., 4 people shot near Nationals Park at the conclusion of the game Saturday night. 2 teens were among the injured. All injuries appear to be non-life-threatening, police say. And in New York, shots rang out during what police say was a dispute between 2 individuals on Friday in the South Bronx, resulting in the death of 16-year-old Angela Yambo. 2 other teens were wounded. A 17-year-old was arrested the next day in connection with the shooting.
Ooh, scary. There's shootings everywhere, so you can't have guns. But that's what we see off of that. That's what the world will try to tell you. From the Blaze. To combat crime, Biden plans to bypass Congress to restrict Americans from building their own guns. From Bill Shiver. Oh, there's video here. We might go back and look at that in just a moment. But let's see what the Blaze has to say. President Biden is set to implement new restrictions on so-called ghost guns this week in the hopes that fresh gun control measures will help to combat the ongoing scourge of violence in this country. In a press conference on Monday, the president and the DOJ are expected to announce the finalization of a new rule, asserting that unfinished gun parts sold in kits will not qualify as firearms under federal law. With the rule, the Biden admin reportedly aims to rein in the proliferation of ghost guns or privately made, non-serialized guns, which they say have been turning up at crime scenes more frequently over the last year. In essence, it will require those who manufacture and sell guns from kits to be licensed and add serial numbers to the products so that the weapon can be traced. This final rule bans the business of manufacturing the most accessible ghost guns, such as unserialized buy, build, shoot kits that individuals can buy online or at a store without a background check and can readily assemble into a working firearm in as little as 30 minutes with the equipment they have at home, the White House announced in a news release. This rule clarifies that these kits qualify as firearms under the Gun Control Act and that commercial manufacturers of such kits must therefore become licensed and include serial numbers on the kit's frame or receiver, and commercial sellers of these kits must become federally licensed and run background checks prior to the sale, just like they have to do with other commercially made firearms, and continued. The rule was first issued by the ATF last May and has been making its way through the federal regulatory process for nearly a year. And Massey, of course, has been rightly askance to this. The Constitution does not authorize the federal government to prevent you from making your own firearms. This is a fact that has been recognized for 200 plus years. Also, Article 1, Section 1, literally the first operative sentence in the Constitution, says Congress makes law, not the President. Oh, that's not a video. That's just the screenshot of the article. Never mind. Other gun rights advocates and groups have also expressed opposition to the rule. According to USA Today, Gun Owners of America has vowed to immediately sue to halt the new regulations and has called on Congress to block the implementation of the rule using the Congressional Review Act. In a statement to Fox News, the NRA discredited Biden's claims that the new rule will help combat crime. It won't, because most of the crime that's occurring still happens with with a registered firearm that has a serial number that is either legally owned or stolen. But the NRA isn't going to do shit because it's the NRA. Let's be realistic about that. An administration that's truly sincere and resolute about curbing violent crime rates would do one thing: take violent criminals off the streets immediately. NRA Managing Director of Public Affairs Andrew Arulanandem said. Yet the Biden admin allows these criminals who kill and maim with callous and reckless abandon again and again to roam the streets of Baltimore, Philadelphia, Chicago, New York, San Francisco, and other cities large and small across the country without fear of persecution and punishment. No. I disagree with the NRA on a lot of things, but I disagree with the NRA on this one. Especially. If the Biden admin wanted to curb gun violence, they would be lifting the restrictions and making it so that there was a federal constitutional carry. So we don't have to wait for states to come back up and pass constitutional carry or even concealed carry permits. There would be a national constitutional carry, and then these people who go out and hurt and maim repeatedly over and over again will have to sit back and look at everybody they intend to go back out and mug and wonder, is this person going to be carrying or is this not? Is this going to be my last heist? Or will I get away with it and get to go on and live another day? If I pop that scrawny kid, am I going to catch one in the chest? What else do we have? This one. Because we love Biden gaffes. This is him talking about why we can't go back and sue gun manufacturers for the misuse of their armaments.
Outfit in a country that is immune. Imagine had the tobacco industry been immune to prostitute being sued. Come on. To prostitute being sued. Imagine had the tobacco industry been immune to prostitute being sued.
Imagine if the tobacco industry had been immune to prostitution. Being sued. There are so many people in the thread of this that are trying to tell people that didn't just hear that with their own ears. That's not what was said. He didn't say prostitution. Shut up. Butterfly says, a good time to remind ourselves that this man is the leader of the free world and had the most votes to make him the most popular president ever, which I believe was a honk honk. Most secure election in history. More honk. Yeah, he said prosecution. No, he didn't. He did not say prosecution. Yeah, it's on all their minds. Yeah, he totally said prosecution.
Outfit in a country that is immune. Imagine had the tobacco industry been immune to prostitute being sued.
To prostitute being sued. Which I also want to point out off the other side of this, that being sued is a civil thing. That's not prosecution. That's a civil liability. And by the way, with the army of lawyers that R.J. Reynolds has, they actually are probably pretty much immune to prosecution. They can get sued left and right, but they're pretty immune to prosecution. I think they can just buy another congressperson to make sure that they don't have to go through the criminal side of the court. From NBC7 out of San Diego. Mixed reaction as San Diego's Biden's ghost gun plan. From Brooke Martell. President Biden announced on Monday that his admin will implement stricter regulations on so-called ghost guns. The regulations would require producers of gun kits to include serial numbers on firearms and for sellers to follow the same guidelines that apply to other guns. The new rules would also require background checks to be in order for someone to purchase them. Some San Diegans are eager to see harsher regulations to get ghost guns off the street because they're in California, while others question how it could impact business at local gun stores. Corey Gadereau and Gary Wire own Firearms Unlimited in California in El Cajon. Here we do everything by the book, by the law, Wire said. Their store does not sell or purchase ghost guns or kits, so it was immediately clear, if at all, how their business would be impacted by the new rules. It's not going to necessarily impact my store because everything we sell here is serialized, Gadereau said. It's going to impact people who are hobbyists. Following Biden's announcement on Monday, Wire had this to say. What the government is trying to do, or the government of the United States or the executive branch is trying to do, in my opinion, incredibly over-encroaching and is quite difficult, Wire said. This is like, what, we're going to tell every auto repair store to serialize every nut and bolt? That's not a bad allegory, actually. San Diego County Gun Owners PAC's Executive Director Michael Schwartz told NBC7 on Monday that he had questioned what parts of the firearm would need to be serialized under Biden's new regulation. Any and all. Law enforcement agencies and gun reform activists who spoke with NBC7 last year said the number of ghost guns ending up in the hands of the wrong people was growing. At the start of the year, the San Diego County Board of Supervisors voted to adopt an ordinance requiring safe firearm storage in addition to prohibiting, distributing, or creating untraceable ghost guns in the county. San Diego Councilmember Marnie von Wilpert, who wrote and helped pass the Eliminate Non-Serialized Untraceable Firearms Ordinance last year, said in a statement Monday, today's long-awaited rule change is a critical step in curbing the shocking rise in gun violence in our country, much of it fueled by the proliferation of ghost guns. This kind of seems to me more like a Californication of our federal government. But this seems like a boogeyman to go back and try to make people believe that, this is what's actually causing the problem. It's the same thing with the scary assault rifle thing. Because that same year that we saw Nicholas Cruz carry out his massacre with the scary assault rifle, there was actually a number of different shootings that happened throughout that year. That got publicized briefly. Now, obviously, of course, there are still several shootings that don't get publicized because they're not politically convenient, and they found out the facts of them before they become politically convenient. But I remember 7 individual incidences in 2018 where there was another school shooting and another school shooting. And pretty much as soon as they find out, shotgun, handgun, in one case actually was a muzzle loader, those stories disappear. Because the boogeyman was the scary AR-15, and now the boogeyman here is the scary ghost gun. Even though, once again, these are the weapons that are barely used for this kind of thing. But that's what we see off of that. But all of the stuff that we just read about the announcement off of here, that's the shot. Here's the chaser. From KTLA in California. USPS suspends services in Santa Monica neighborhood citing attacks on carriers. Man, wouldn't it be nice if a law-abiding mail carrier was able to defend himself while he was delivering the mail? Maybe if he had a ghost gun. From Norin Salahia and Sarah Welch. Also additional reporting by Sofia Pop Perez. The USPS is temporarily suspending services in Santa Monica neighborhood after multiple attacks on its mail carriers, the agency said on Monday. Not rain, nor snow, nor sleet will stop the U.S. Postal Service from delivering, but apparently gang violence will. There have been 3 incidences in the 1300 block of 14th Street in Santa Monica involving 3 separate letter carriers, USPS spokeswoman Natasha Garvins told KTLA. Multiple carriers have been subjected to assaults and threats of assault from an individual who has not been located or apprehended, letters from the USPS posted in the neighborhood read. A Santa Monica Police Department lieutenant told KTLA the agency only found one crime report involving a USPS letter carrier in the 1300 block of 14th Street. The incident was reported on January 19th involving a resident who assaulted a USPS mail carrier with a broomstick, according to Santa Monica Police Lieutenant Erica Aklufi. The victim sustained a minor injury to his arm and did not require medical attention. The resident lives in the area and is known to our officers and is also the mail carrier he attacked. Aklufi said in an email the mail carrier declined prosecution for the incident, according to police. If there were another incidents of USPS mail carriers being attacked, we were unable to locate additional reports, the police spokeswoman said. And again, wouldn't it be nice if these mail carriers had the opportunity to defend themselves? I would think so. Perhaps we can get them a ghost gun before they're completely outlawed. Let's read from Reddit. That's something we never say on this channel. The SUV Flat Tire Challenge. Posted by U/Adbusters magazine 6 days ago. It's time to do something about SUVs. They're the second largest contributor to the increase in global CO2 emissions since 2010, more than aviation. This is a gentle escalation of methods to drive the urgency of this climate crisis home and engender a systemic aversion to SUVs. So here's what we do. Wedge gravel between the tire valves, leaflet the SUV to let them know the tires are flat and why it was done, and walk away. Brother, that's a good way to get shot. That's vandalism. And by the way, why wedge gravel in? Go out and get a valve core remover from Farm and Fleet. They're like $5. And also make sure you keep the receipt on there so you can be prosecuted for intent. It's that simple. If we organize, we can hit enough SUVs in particular neighborhoods to spark reporting and spread the meta meme. We do this neighborhood at a time to make the biggest splash, organize a crew of any traceable apps, and make leaflets. Off of any traceable apps and make leaflets that lay out the case for climate action. He says on Reddit, a traceable app. The mission is not to win individual converts at this point, but to engender a systemic aversion to SUVs. Climate change is the biggest crisis we've faced as a species, and we're failing to test at every step. It's time for us to carefully escalate our methods in a nonviolent manner and convey the seriousness of the crisis in tangible ways. Well, that's vandalism. I would consider that to be a violent manner. From the New York Post, radical environmentalists urge people to target wealthy areas, deflate SUV tires, from Jörn Steinbuch. A radical environmental group is urging its followers to target wealthy areas and let the air out of gas-guzzling SUV tires in an effort to fight climate change. Adbusters, which describes itself as an international collectivist of artists, designers, writers, musicians, poets, punks, philosophers, and wild hearts, posted instructions on how to deflate tires. Wedge gravel in the tire valves, leaflet the SUV to let them know the tires are flat and why it was done, and walk away. It's that simple, the group said in a tweet. If we organize, we can hit enough SUVs in particular neighborhoods to spark reporting and spread the meta meme, it added. The group also told its followers to start by targeting wealthy areas. Our goal isn't to disrupt workers, and avoid targeting vehicles with disabled stickers or hangers. Oh, how kind of you. It said that deflating the tires of SUVs, which are playing a large role in carbon emissions, it argued, would also hurt the automotive industry where it hurts. Adbusters, whose goal is a total reinvention of the cultural and political playbook, argued that climate change is the biggest crisis we face as a species, We are failing the test at every step. The nonprofit insisted it's time for us to carefully escalate our methods in a nonviolent manner to convey the seriousness of this crisis in tangible ways. Adbusters did not immediately respond to a request for comment by the Post. Well, that's because Adbusters has confessed to a felony, vandalism, and they will not be coming out here and making a comment where they can get arrested, which they should be. Some Twitter users slammed the pro-environment group for its radical tactic, arguing it's dangerous. Of course, you are aware that if the wife doesn't notice an intentionally partially deflated tire gets in the highway and winds up blowing a tire from being overheated, the vehicle could easily roll, one critic wrote. I predict a lot of "a car thief was shot" news stories if you actually do this, another person warned. The tweet has not been taken down, but Twitter's terms of service warn members that they may not engage in targeted harassment of somebody or incite other people to do so. And that is the leaflet that they're going to put out as well. And by the way, this is against Twitter's terms of service also. But Twitter won't do this because it's a left-wing group. They won't do anything about it. Here's the leaflet. Your tires are flat. It isn't personal. SUVs are disproportionately fueling the climate crisis. They're the second largest contributor to increasing the global CO2 emissions since 2010, and they're totally unnecessary. The climate crisis is spiraling out of control, making drastic action necessary, so we deflated your tires. Walk, bike, take public transit if you have to, but it's time to end our reliance on these gas-guzzling behemoths. For the wild, the third force. I'm telling you right now, because they probably think my truck is a major gas guzzler too. If I heard that, because I'm not that far away from my truck when I sleep. And if I woke up and heard that, I would make the assumption that it's somebody going out to steal my truck, which has a gun in it, and it would be the person's last mistake. Defensively, of course. From the Daily Mail, sticker sellers report soaring trade in "I Did That" decals, blaming Biden for rising gas prices. Americans put them on gas pumps across the country, but be warned, you could get arrested, as one person actually did. From Matt McNulty for DailyMail.com. Let's refresh this and see if something actually happens here, because it looks like this stopped loading in the middle. Yes, there we go. Comical stickers blaming the president for skyrocketing gas prices have been showing up at gas stations across the U.S., with one man in Pennsylvania even being arrested for putting one on a pump. Identical stickers bearing the words "I did that" next to a photo pointing Biden have been seen in Minnesota and Kansas, with vendors doing a brisk business selling the anti-Biden merchandise to the chagrin of exhausted gas station staffers. Thomas Richard Glazewski, 54 of Manor Township, was arrested on March 31st after a confrontation with police was caught on video and shared on social media by over 3,000 people as of Sunday. The video shows Glazewski being tackled by the cops at a Turkey Hill convenience store on 1503 Columbia Avenue in East Hempfield Township, Lancaster Online reported. He repeatedly yells, "I did that! I did that! That's what I did!" as he points to several stickers of the finger-pointing Biden slapped on the gas pump. And this sounds absolutely hilarious, so we're going to watch it.
Be on video! Go ahead and bash my head! Slam me in here! Let's see some blood, man! Let's see some blood! Let me get my piece out of the car! Oh! Why don't you bash my head in the door? Crack the door. camera out of here. Jesus Christ.
Kind of want to watch that again. But of course, it's the Daily Mail, and they go right to the next video right away. I kind of want to watch that again. That was hilarious.
Be on video. Go ahead and bash my head. Just slam me in here. Let's see some blood, man. Let's see some blood.
Let's see some fucking blood.
Oh. Why don't you bash my head in the door? Crack the door.
I did that! That's what I did! You're fighting me! All over an I did that sticker. All over that sticker right there. Glazewski made it even more difficult to remove the stickers after spraying the surface with a clear coat, a Turkey Hill employee told police. So, with the clear coat, that is intent to vandalism. It's a minor vandalism, but that's intent to vandalism. So, to call the police out for that is to an extent justified, but the reaction to that is not. He was charged with resisting, disorderly conduct, harassment, and criminal mischief last Monday and is due back in court for a preliminary hearing on April 26th. While being forced into the back of the police vehicle, Glazewski suffered a self-inflicted injuries. Yeah, that's what it was, a self-inflicted injury, which required EMS to take him to the local hospital according to charging documents. The I did that sticker has popped up across the country over the last few weeks as gas prices soar, similar to the Let's Go Brandon chants that swept through many red states and everywhere else, as people showed their displeasure with the Democratic president. The station KSTP reported that last month, I did that stickers have repeatedly shown up at Stockman's truck stop in South St. Paul. Now it's almost like an everyday thing, said cashier Hajra Akram the minute they pile up, and it's like, oh, I gotta take time from out of being here and scrape it off hers. So, just keep that off of here. Maybe put it on your own car on the back. But see, that's not the statement that's being made. The statement being made is that, look at the gas prices, the ridiculous policies of the Biden admin are what's responsible for that. That's the reason that you're paying. The Minnesota Service Station and Convenience Store Association, which represents more than 300 gas stations in Minnesota, issued a statement asking customers to stop vandalizing fuel pumps with the stickers. I would just say let it go. But of course, not my property either, so that's on your call. I know a lot of places around here have actually just started letting it go, letting it just be there. Of course, once again, I'm in a swing state right now, which means that our governor is going to every extent in the world to try to make sure that they don't blame Democrats for anything. No, it's all, look how low your prices are here. But that's what we see off of that. From the Dissociated Press, a little bit of Iowa news and some midterm news for us here. Democrat Finkenauer knocked off U.S. Senate primary ballot from David Pitt. A state court judge has ruled that the Democrat Abby Finkenauer cannot appear on the June 7th Iowa primary ballot for U.S. Senate because she didn't gather enough petition signatures, potentially knocking off the candidate considered by many to be the party's best chance to unseat Republican U.S. Senator Chuck Grassley. Judge Beatty, a 2018 appointee of Kim Reynolds, filed a ruling late Sunday that overturned a decision by a 3-member panel of state elected officials. The panel concluded last week that Finkenauer's campaign staffers had substantially complied with Iowa law that requires candidates to obtain 3,500 names, including at least 100 signatures from at least 19 counties. Finkenauer plans to appeal the decision to the Iowa Supreme Court, scheduled a hearing on Wednesday with a promise to rule on the matter by the end of the week to meet the deadlines for sending ballots to overseas voters. 2 Republicans challenged Finkenauer's petition papers, saying signatures from at least 2 counties did not have the required date accompanying them. In the past, the panel, which includes the Secretary of State, AG, and State Auditor, has found the petitions to be in substantial compliance with the law, even though signatures were missing or difficult to interpret. A.G. Miller and Auditor Rob Sand, both Democrats, voted to allow Finkenauer's petitions, citing past precedent for giving deference to campaigns that use the proper forms and made efforts to comply with the new law. Secretary of State Paul Pate, a Republican, voted against Finkenauer's petition. Kim Schmidt and Leanne Pellet, former Republican county election officials, challenged the signatures and filed a court appeal at the Iowa Objection Panel's decision last week. Beatty concluded the panel's legal interpretation was wrong and that the law clearly says each signature should be accompanied by a date. His decision knocked signatures from Alameda and Cedar counties off of Finkenauer's nomination petitions, which meant that her campaign failed to submit at least 100 signatures from at least 19 counties, as required. Beatty said he took no joy in the decision. This court should not be in the position to make a difference in the election, and Ms. Finkenauer and her supporters should have the chance to advance their candidacy. However, this court's job is to sit as a referee and apply the law without passion or prejudice. It's required to rule without consideration of the politics of the day. Here, the court has attempted to fulfill that role. And really, honestly, when they look into something like this, I hate to see it go off a technicality. I want to see the best candidates put up and the best candidates fight against each other. Is Finkenauer the best candidate? I don't know. I don't pay attention to Iowa politics, unfortunately. But I would rather not see her knocked off on a technicality. I want to see the good ideas from Grassley rise to the top, and the bad ideas from insert Democrat name here sink to the bottom, because the Democrat Party has gone completely fucking batshit at this point. So I don't want to see a win like this. That's part of the problem that I have with something like this. I want to see left-wing Democrat ideals pounded into the fucking ground because they suck. But regardless, if this was the other way, and, you know, I know that our friend Midget B loves the, can you imagine if the shoe was on the other foot? Can you imagine if this was the other way? Well, realistically, if Finkenauer had analyzed Grassley's signatures and found that, oh, well, he didn't get enough from enough counties here, they would be all over the courts doing the exact same thing. So, as Beatty said, without passion, interpretation of the law. Unfortunately, and again, that's not the way that I want to see this. I want to see the shitty ideas drop to the fucking bottom. From ABC 9 out of Iowa, Finkenauer to challenge judge's decision on removal from ballot. Auditors wait to print ballots. From KCRG staff. The Iowa Supreme Court will decide if Abby Finkenauer's name will make it to the Democrat primary ballot. The Supreme Court scheduled oral arguments on Wednesday after a district judge decided to reverse the decision from a state objections panel, which decides on challenges to nomination petitions for elected office. Scott Beatty said the ruling of the panel, which is made up of the Secretary of State, State Auditor, and AG, made the wrong decision when it voted to keep Finkenauer on the ballot after a challenge from 2 Republicans. Yeah, we know all this already. Joel Miller, who's the Linn County Auditor and candidate for Secretary of State, disagreed with Finkenauer's assessment of the decision. I thought it was sound and logical based on what I know of the law, he said. It seemed like a proper decision based off the facts. Miller said that this could have been avoided if the candidate received more signatures. He paid around $9,000 to ensure that he received more than the required amount of signatures and praised the judge's decision. And yeah, you should, especially if you're going to run, you should have some backups to make sure that you are well, so far above the requirement that there will be no question whatsoever that you will appear on the ballot. But leave it to the Democrat Party to get the bare minimum. And one last one coming off of this here from Axios of Des Moines. Iowa Supreme Court will consider Abby Finkenauer's appeal. So, yep, she will be going to the Supreme Court and they will make the decision. The Iowa Supreme Court will consider former Rep. Abby Finkenauer's appeal against a Polk County judge's recent ruling that blocks her from the upcoming primary. The court's decision will be pivotal for the future of Finkenauer's campaign. She is considered the front-running Democrat challenger against Chuck Grassley. A Polk County judge ruled late Sunday night that Finkenauer did not have the proper signatures required to qualify for the June 7th Democratic primary, writes Axios' Oriana Gonzalez. Her place on the ballot was challenged by Republicans who first argued that Finkenauer did not submit the necessary amount of valid signatures on her nominating petitions to qualify for the primary ballot, the Des Moines Register reports. Let's skip here and see what's coming off of here. Senate candidates are required to submit at least 3,500 signatures on their nomination petitions, including 119 different Iowa counties. Beatty ruled that Finkenauer did not have enough valid signatures because of some of them were missing information. Time is of the essence, and Finkenauer wants to show up on the ballot. So we will continue to watch this and see where it goes. The Register needs the appeals decision by April 15th. So we've got 3 days to figure this out, and the Supreme Court's going to hear it. So that's what we will see. From the Blaze. California lawmakers want to pass restrictions on homeless people after a woman with autism was raped and murdered near an encampment. From Carlos Garcia. Some California lawmakers want to impose new restrictions on homeless people after a woman with autism was raped and murdered near a homeless camp on January. 20-year-old Emma Rourke vanished while she was taking a walk near the American River Parkway on January 27th at about noon. The pathway is plagued by homeless people in tents and encampments. Her remains were later discovered, and law enforcement officials arrested Mikilo Morgan Rawls, a 37-year-old homeless man, and charged him with murder, sodomy, and rape of the woman. Court documents say the victim's father received a phone call from the man who was using her phone and said that Rawls had sold it to her. Prosecutors alleged the man tied her up, sexually assaulted her, then strangled her to death. They also said they found his DNA on the victim. According to some reports, her partially nude body was found hanging from a tree near the homeless camp. The circumstances of this murder are horrific, and our sympathies go out to Emma Rourke's family, said Sacramento County District Attorney Anne Marie Schubert. On Friday, Democrat state lawmakers announced a proposal that would make it easier for law enforcement to remove homeless people near parklands and other open spaces. The bill would allow officials to designate some areas as special parklands that homeless people would not be allowed to inhabit. Well, we will see. California's addressing a real problem. That seems very unlikely to me, but I guess we'll have to watch and see where it goes. From KATU2, the weather report. Portland sees first significant April snow in over 80 years. I do like to remind people that it snowed on my birthday, and the year I was born. Which, given the fact that it's the last day of April, means that it's a freak snowstorm, but it happens. Maybe not in Portland, but it happens. From KATU staff. The Portland metro area woke Monday to several inches of snow, creating a slick morning commute and knocking out power for thousands. The National Weather Service, Portland, extended a winter weather advisory for Portland and the surrounding areas through the noon Monday, saying an inch or two of snow could fall through the morning hours. In 82 years of record keeping, PDX had never recorded more than a trace of snow in April. That ended today, NWS said. The overnight snow prompted several local districts to close or issue a 2-hour delay. Oregon's largest school district, Portland Public Schools, announced shortly before 8 a.m. that would close for the snow day. The heavy, wet snowflakes weighed down branches, causing power outages across the region. As of 7:45 a.m. Monday, there were over 70,000 customers without power, so something to see, something to watch. But don't worry, climate change is going to turn this planet into Tatooine. From The Blaze. Brian Stelter invites expert on media bias to slam Fox News, is stunned when the expert also criticizes CNN. From Carlos Garcia. Come on, where's the banana man? I want to hear how trash The Blaze is. CNN's media critic, Brian Stelter, was stunned when an expert brought on his network to discuss bias at Fox News also criticized CNN for left-wing bias. Stelter interviewed 2 researchers from the University of California at Berkeley who conducted a study where Fox News viewers were paid to watch a CNN and their reactions were documented and analyzed. Basically, you're proving what we've sensed for a while, which is Fox viewers are in the dark about bad news for the GOP, Stelter said to Professor Joshua Calla, one of the researchers. What bad news? The GOP keeps giving rope to the Democrats and they keep hanging themselves with it. That's right, Fox and CNN cover different issues, and Fox predominantly covers issues that make the GOP look good and make Democrats look bad. On the flip side, CNN engages in this partisan coverage filtering as well. We find, Calla responded. Is there a video of this? Yes, there is. There's video of this segment.
Is it possible to make Fox News viewers change their minds about key issues just by having them change the channel? That's what a new study suggests. It's titled The Manifold Effects of Partisan Media on Viewers' Beliefs and Attitudes. The researchers paid some Fox News fans to...
By the way, I'm older than that dude is. Just so you know.
...to watch CNN for 30 days, and then they asked them some questions. The results are fascinating. So let's bring in David Brockman and Joshua Calla. They conducted the study in September of 2020, and it's just been published this week. Welcome to you both. Let's not waste any time. David, what did you find?
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. So what we did is we recruited a fairly large group of people who predominantly watched Fox News up until September 2020. And in September 2020, we paid them to watch CNN instead at the time at which they usually watch Fox News. And then afterwards, we asked them a variety of questions about what they knew about the world and their attitudes about current events and people like Donald Trump. That was during the Trump presidency, of course. And I think the real key finding here from our perspective is essentially that we find that partisan media is sort of hiding information from voters. And I think there's kind of an analogy to Putin's Russia, where right now Russians we know are not getting all the information about what's actually happening in Ukraine. And in the same way that we found during the Trump presidency, those watching Fox News weren't getting all the information about what was really happening, for example, with COVID and otherwise in the Trump administration, that then they started seeing on CNN and they said, oh, wow, I had no idea. I didn't know all this because Fox News wasn't telling me.
So Josh, you all call this partisan coverage filtering. And basically you're proving what we've sensed for a while, which is Fox viewers are in the dark about bad news for the GOP.
That's right. Fox and CNN cover different issues, and Fox News predominantly covers issues that make the GOP look good and make Democrats look bad. And on the flip side, CNN engages in this partisan coverage filtering as well that we find. For example, during this time, the Abraham Accords were signed, and these were the agreements where Israel, the UAE, and Bahrain signed a major peace agreement. And we see that Fox News covered this really major accomplishment about 15 times more than CNN did. So we established both networks are really engaging in this partisan coverage filtering. It's not about one side, it's about the media writ large.
I think you're engaging in some both sidesism there, Josh.
Oh my God! You're going on both sides. Oh no! You're on CNN. You're supposed to be nice to us.
Not trying to lay out a moral equivalency. It's not about what an objective standard is. It's really about how all networks do engage in this, and in order for viewers to get a realistic picture of the world, we need viewers to see all types of information. And unfortunately, what we find in this study is that the viewers don't want to engage in watching all sides. So as David mentioned, we see that viewers, we pay them for 4 weeks to watch CNN, but then after those payments stop, they go back to watching Fox News. So even though we try to incentivize viewers to watch both Fox and CNN, they don't want to engage in that hard work. They want to really just watch the side that makes them feel good.
Look, as a person who usually has at least one CNN article on the stack, which today, oddly enough, today I don't. But usually I have at least one on the stack every day. I'm telling you right now, you couldn't pay me to watch CNN. You could not pay me to watch CNN and what goes on with that. You couldn't pay me to do that from what, I also don't watch Fox News. I use their articles and their coverage, but I don't watch them. Fuck that. That's stupid. That is a stupid thing. So that's what they say coming off of that. That's... all right. Let's talk a little bit of foreign stuff here. Excuse me. From the Times of Israel. Palestinians vandalize and set fire to Joseph's tomb. PM decries shocking destruction. From Toy Staff. Prime Minister Naftali Bennett joined the condemnation on Sunday of the overnight arson and vandalism of Joseph's tomb near the West Bank city of Nablus, saying he was appalled by the images of the damage to the shrine. During the night, the Palestinians destroyed Joseph's tomb. Dozens of Palestinian rioters in a campaign of destruction simply violated a holy place for us, the Jews, Bennett said at the start of the cabinet meeting. They broke the tombstone on the grave, set fire to the rooms in the compound. I saw the pictures and I was shocked, he said. We will not abide such an assault on a place that is holy to us and the eve of Passover, and we will get to the rioters, he said. And of course we will make sure to rebuild what they destroyed, as we always do. Around 100 Palestinians broke into the site overnight, rioted, and set it ablaze before they were dispersed by the Palestinian security forces and smashed objects inside. Israel Defense Forces spokesman Brigadier General Ran Kochav said. Images on social media showed parts of the tomb inside the shrine smashed and charred. The rioting came amid clashes between Palestinian gunmen and the IDF soldiers in the nearby Balata refugee camp in the Jenin area. Footage showed dozens of Palestinians entering the site and smashing objects inside the tomb. The tomb is venerated by Jews, Christians, and Muslims and has often been a flashpoint for violence. In just 1 second here. Excuse me. So, yeah, we're going to start to see some of this foreign stuff coming up here too. And a lot of this, again, I mean, what goes on in Israel between Palestine, that is an ongoing thing. It's a matter of what gets reported. And I actually got this story from the Daily Wire, but chose not to read from the Daily Wire to talk about it. I chose to go find something else. Because the Daily Wire is going to have their spin on it. So that's what we see off of that. China says regular military supplies delivered to Serbia. From ABC News via the Associated Press. China said on Monday its military planes delivered regular military supplies to Serbia. Its first comments in an unusual operation in which 6 Chinese Air Force Y-20 transport planes landed in Belgrade early Saturday. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lishan told reporters the operation was part of the 2 countries' annual cooperation plan, does not target any third parties, and has nothing to do with the current situation. Zhao gave no further details. The plane's arrival prompted heavy speculation they were carrying HQ-22 surface-to-air missiles under the terms of a previous deal signed between the sides. Serbia's defense ministry did not immediately respond to a request for comment from the Associated Press. There is some shakeup going on over in that region of the world, and let's also, because we have to appease to our libertarian friends, let's just look at the map and see where everything is off of this. But I mean, this is a long-standing deal. But the fact that they made the delivery, by the way, in Y-20 transports with an escort tells me that they were trying to do a show of force off of this as well. So let's just make sure that we know where Serbia is. Because, of course, our friends over in the LP will say, well, sure, we'll hear what you have to say about foreign policy as long as you point to it on the map. So, and we're going under a fairly significant difference. This is Serbia right here, next to Romania and Bulgaria, above Greece. And there's China, which has an agreement, does have a military alliance with Serbia to provide them with military assistance. But going all the way over Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, over Russia, the Baltic Sea, and then into EU countries, Romania, Bulgaria, Greece. Well, not Greece, they don't go over that, but Georgia, Azerbaijan, going all the way over to Serbia to go and deliver these supplies. I'm pretty sure we were seeing a show of military force with that, so something to watch, something that's not major yet, but something to watch as we go into this weird election year. From The Hill, White House advisor, extending TSA mask mandate absolutely still on the table. From Alex Gangitano, a top White House COVID-19 advisor on Monday said that extending the federal mask mandate for all transportation networks, which is set to expire next week, is absolutely under consideration. This is a CDC decision, and I think it's absolutely on the table, White House COVID-19 response coordinator Ashish Jha said on NBC's Today. Jha said the CDC director Rochelle Walensky will make the decision on extending the mask mandate. Well, it's Walensky. It's coming. It's being extended if it's Walensky. She loves that mask mandate. For transportation networks based on the scientific framework that the agency is developing. He also said the framework will be available in the next few days. The Transportation Security Administration's mask mandate for travel on airplanes, in airports, and on buses on rail systems initially went into effect with an expiration date of May of 2021 and has been extended several times. In March, it was extended by 1 month through April 18th. Zha's remarks comes as several states have seen a rise in the pinkopox cases. As a highly transmissible subvariant of Ermagerd, BA2 has spread a string of high-profile cases in Washington last week, including Speaker Pelosi and Attorney General Merrick Garland and several lawmakers. Just in time to spread the panic throughout the country to say, we can't go out to the polls! Give us a mail-in ballot! Mail-in ballot, please! And the honkening begins. Except it's, I guess, never mind, because if it does go in the left's favor, it will be the second freest and fairest election in history, for only beat out in freeness and fairness by the 2020 election, which was the freest and fairest election in history. 81 million votes, 10 scoops of ice cream, most popular president in history, even more popular than Barack Obama. So that's what we see off of that. And the last one, before we go off and do Twitter trending, was this tweet that is completely wrong in every way, in every manner. But Socialist Done Left, SDL, says, well, they screenshot. Let's look at the screenshot first and say, in America, healthcare should be a right, not a privilege. Tweets Biden on April 5th. And on April 8th, in response, Dr. Peterson says, well, nothing that someone else is required to provide can be a right. Okay, bucko? SDL then takes the screenshot, doesn't quote tweet, takes the screenshot and says, cop, arrest Jordan Peterson. Pig, you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney if... Kermit, nothing that someone else is required to provide can be a right. You socialist scum. Oh, how wrong you can be. Like, and they don't even realize how they're wrong. And they're using this, of course, to come back out to try to argue that healthcare is going to be a human right. Obviously, with the thing of this, they're trying to use you have the right to an attorney. You do have the right to an attorney. And I actually responded to this one here and I said, if you knew anything about the nation our founders were leaving, you'd know how stupid you sound. I don't typically name call on Twitter, but that one warranted it. The Bill of Rights are negative rights, meaning they restrain the government. You can choose to bring an attorney or not, which you can. You can absolutely represent yourself too. It's a stupid idea, but you can do it. You can choose to bring an attorney or not, but the government can't bar legal representation. Like, the government can't tell you that you have to represent yourself. You can't have a lawyer. They're trying with the January 6 people. But they cannot tell you that you cannot have an attorney. If you want to bring an attorney, and you can afford one, you can bring one in. A public defender, which that's the one they always go to. The government guarantees a public defender by law. Yes, because a law was passed requiring that, but that can be taken away with the stroke of a pen. Either by EO or by legislation. The public defender can be taken away. It is not enshrined in the Bill of Rights. Realistically, if the courts want to tell you to pound sand and go get your own attorney, they can. By the constitutional framework. If they want to tell you to go and fuck yourself, well, there'd be a national, unusually, most places, a local law that governs that as well. But if they really want to tell you to go and fuck yourself and pound sand and bring your own attorney, they can do that. But what they cannot tell you to do is tell you, you can't have an attorney. Your crime is so egregious that you have to defend yourself. You're not allowed to have an attorney. They can't do that. Because the Fifth Amendment restricts the government, not you. In fact, with the law, even though the law isn't enshrined in the Fifth Amendment, with the Fifth Amendment, that is the basis for the law, where they do provide the attorney. They pay the attorney to go back out, the public defender. It's not the demand of health. The state pays for it, but again, on the stroke of a pen, because they can't compel somebody else to do the work for them. They can only offer the payment to do so. They can get rid of that law. Like that. Oh, majority House. Oh, filibuster-proof majority Senate. Oh, president doesn't like you anymore. Oh, public defender's gone. But what they'll never be able to do is tell you that you can't bring your own attorney with you. Ever. By the Constitution. And these people are morons. And also, one thing to keep in mind, this little hypothetical that they're doing here only works if Peterson is arrested in the U.S., because under Canada, they actually don't have a right to an attorney. Nothing that someone else is required to provide can be a right, bucko. You socialist scum. Clean your damn room. And by the way, SDL makes socialist and progressive videos. So if you're interested in socialist progressive videos, go check out Socialist Done Left. Because apparently that's what they do, is make socialist and progressive videos. Alright, let's look at the trending now and see what's going on. By the way, thanks to the off-hour server again for bringing that to my attention, because that was a good one. I enjoyed that. Alright, let's see what's trending on Twitter today. Let's see how many Wordle trends are going on. We have an inflation report, everybody. That'll be our number 2. Number 1 is Sunset Park. Well, I see that Quest is still chatting with us, so that means that he is marked safe from Sunset Park, because I know that he lives in Brooklyn. I don't know where in Brooklyn. I don't know if it's anywhere near where this happened. But I know that he lives in Brooklyn and he rides the subway. But he is apparently marked as safe, so let's look at the Sunset Park trend. And we will probably put this on the stack for tomorrow. In fact, I might just grab an article right away and do this. Yeah, let's put this over here. We'll dock that. We'll talk more about this tomorrow, but... Breaking news. Oh, by the way, this trend might contain graphic content. Breaking news. Several people shot on a Brooklyn subway platform during the Tuesday morning commuter rush. Officials said the attack occurred at the 36th Street station in Sunset Park. Jody Abergron says, I walked into the 36th Street station in the immediate aftermath of this morning's incident, turned around as cops were swarming, didn't realize how serious it was. Sunset Park is my home, one of New York City's truly special communities. We will band together. My heart goes out to my neighbors. Crowder, and this is the graphic content, so let's drop some of the music and let's enjoy the graphic content, because that's what we do around here. Crowder, my heart goes out to those injured at Sunset Park, Brooklyn. I pray for the NYPD finds the perp before any more harm is done. Change my mind. But he also provided video, so let's watch.
We have COVID on the train!
Yeah, 136th Street, 26th Street, going to Canada Archery, and I think West Side is fine on the train, on the northbound side.
There's 4 gloves right here.
Starting on a Monday, every rush after that is free. Learn more at educate.info/safety. And thank you for.
All right, that's one view of off things. Sav just says, just read about what happened at Sunset Park. That's crazy, because that's the exact stop I used to get off when I worked over there. It's nothing but families and hardworking people over there. Breaking, 6 reportedly injured in possible shooting at Sunset Park. Explosive devices were also found, according to NYPD. At least 13 shot or hurt in NYC by man wearing a gas mask, construction equipment. 13 people shot or otherwise hit by shrapnel in multiple subway stations. So this is happening all over this. And now, of course, they're going to go after Eric Adams, too. Good morning from NYC. Anyone know when the mayor's next party or photo op is? Asking for a few million fed-up New Yorkers. So that's what we see off Sunset Park. And yeah, I've got the former newspaper article up on my screen, but it looks like there's going to be another one in the Discord as well. So we will watch that. By the way, I saw that Watch the Water is trending over on my trends. I don't know if we'll get to that in the US trends. Maybe, maybe not. But I also see that I think it was Carb who was talking about it and put the Rumble link into the chat as well. So, all right, let's look at the next one. Inflation. Mint says India's retail inflation accelerated at 6.95% on Monday. Food inflation jumped to 7. India. They printed $8 trillion and sent you a 1,400. They printed $8 trillion, sent you 1,400, sent the rest to their friends, and left you with the inflation and the debt. Stephen Crowder says, at this rate, inflation will be higher than Biden's approval rating in no time. Michael Saylor, of course, the ever-present Bitcoin salesman, says inflation is worse than you think, and Bitcoin is better than you know. NBC News Radio, inflation is soaring higher than economists expected. New numbers out this morning show the consumer price index jumped to 8.5% last month, the highest rate in 40 years. 8.5%. We have got a new inflation number, 8.5%. Aren't you excited? G-Word Home says, sorry, Twitter, it isn't hashtag inflation, it's hashtag Bidenflation. The result of the Biden admin making decisions that are 100% political and 0% caring about real-world impact. He's not wrong. I don't know what QE is, but Peter Schiff is trying to... Those who claimed QE wouldn't cause inflation were right. QE doesn't cause inflation. QE is inflation. But QE does cause prices to rise. That's why there can be a long lag between QE and big price increases. That's why so many still don't make the connection between the two. I don't know what QE is, but... And I need to update my meme. I like that one with the scribbled out all the time. When you get a 3% raise, but inflation is 5.4%. I happen to have a red pen right here. When you get a 3% raise, but inflation is 5.4%, 6.2%, 6.8%, 7%, 7.5%, 8.5%. We are adding that to the Porch Boys because they're going to have fun with that. So let's just let's make a little note of that too. Adam in H-Town, Texas, not a biologist, says inflation is soaring higher than economists expected. Funny how economists always underestimate bad news when Obama or Biden are in office. So there you go. That's your inflation. Number 3 trend. Actually, I want to go. There was another meme that I saw in this that I wanted to grab. Let me see if we can find it again. Nope, it's going to be gone. There's another one for you. The president needs to stop blaming others and do his job, from Joe Biden. Government official. The president needs to stop blaming others and do his job. That's April 20th of 2020. Joe Biden. A large contributor to inflation this month was an increase in gas and energy prices as markets reacted to Putin's aggressive actions. I know that higher prices impact a family's budget, which is why I'm fighting to bring down the everyday prices that are squeezing Americans. There was another one that showed where I saw this, and I saw the chart before I got started too, but I didn't think to grab it. But they showed, the dotted line is where Putin invaded Russia, and it showed where the inflation started going up, and said, just kidding, that's Biden's inauguration day. And then if you look down on the x-axis of the particular chart that they had, yes, the dotted line was in January of 2021. Indeed. All right, third trend. We spent way too much time on that one, especially since we're going to be talking about it again tomorrow. Portfolio Day. Creatives on the hunt for work share their portfolios. Takes place on the second Tuesday in January, April, July, and October, which is why we see so much of it. And it's always on Twitter Trending Day, too. My first ever portfolio day. So let's look at some of the portfolios, shall we? That's actually kind of cool. I kind of like that. Here's some of Can Lu's art. Ali Rico likes to draw backgrounds. John Ramsey makes animals and their adventures. I'm Eiji. I'm a hobbyist artist, and I do love drawing Persona 5 style, which I've not played Persona 5 because I don't have a new enough console to do so, but I've seen other people play Persona 5, and the art style is really cool. So I can see where he likes to do that. The music is really cool, too. Maybe I'll have to get a new console and play Persona 5 on stream. But yeah, those are some cool portfolios. Really definitely love to see that. I'm Kat and I love to pixel all kinds of neon characters. Team Rocket. Is that Raven, I think? Don't recognize. Don't recognize. Yeah, there's some really cool stuff off of here. Unfortunately, I think most of these artists are raging leftoids. Otherwise, I would like to contract some of these people to do some stuff for us. Number 4 trending is Stranger Things 4. Variety says, Stranger Things 4 trailer. The Hawkins gang goes to war with the Upside Down. I have not seen Stranger Things. It's been recommended to me a couple times, but I have not seen it. My whole teenage years wouldn't be the same without the show. See you finally in a few weeks. Home. Stranger Things 4. So apparently the 4th season for Stranger Things is going to be coming soon. I have not seen the first 3, so I don't know what kind of stuff is going on with it. I know it's very occult. I know that it is very spooky woo kind of stuff, but it might be enjoyable. Wouldn't mind to see it. I know it's set in the 80s too, so I guess I'm not sure how it goes, but I guess we will see. And number 5, we will skip Tuesday Vibe, of course. And number 5, we'll go on and talk about Rihanna. It's too much fun to get dressed up. I'm not going to let that part of me disappear because my body is changing, says Rihanna, who is apparently very, very pregnant. Your boy Diggy's photos out here acting up, showing the baby bump. I didn't even know Rihanna was pregnant, I'm not going to lie. Of course, I couldn't tell you anything about Rihanna since like 2007. Because I don't listen to that kind of music. I don't really pay attention to celebrity gossip. I just know that she's got dark hair and really, I can't tell if they're green or hazel eyes, which looks really, really good, especially against her light caramel skin tone. Rihanna looks really good. Maybe not so much pregnant, but she still looked really, really good. I will give it that. And with that, that is our 5th trend, and we're going to head out of here for the day. A little bit of Kakariko Village beats, I like that. A little bit of Zelda stuff going on here. But we gotta put the end of that here and head out of here for the day. So, with that, we are going to head out of here for the day. Thanks everybody who came by, chatted in the live chat, brought some friends. Looks like we saw some new names in here as well, some old names, and a lot of people in here. And remember, if you're just lurking, get those last-minute messages in, because we do say a special thank you on Friday. Well, I'm not running off to work right now, but I still have some stuff to do here because we are trying to position ourselves where we can get the business going and I can spend more time with you guys. So come back and join me tomorrow for more contemporary. I will be less Twitter and Discord active over the next few days, but do still put your articles in Discord. Send them to me on Twitter. Send them to me on the Gilded. Get all your articles in there because this is the news show that you guys shape. So if I can't see it what you guys want to see, then I will just cover what I want to cover. So definitely go and check that out. Thank you, Carbs, for telling us about Watch the Water. We will go and look into some of that as well. We're going to head out of here, though. Stick around if you're on Twitch. We're going to go rating. Otherwise, I will see some of you in the chat and the Daily Ignoramus for what little bit I can catch, and we will see you next time over here on Contemporary. And until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.